What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be taking a look at the best way to support a sleigh comp. And obviously that is a little bit of a pun, because the best way to support a sleigh comp is going to be with support units in the late game. But there's other ways to support a sleigh comp as well, and some of these concepts we've talked about in some recent videos. On Sunday's video, we looked at just how some small incremental gains with sleigh can really help, especially when the whole lobby is playing sleigh. It just helps to be ahead early and often. And then yesterday we talked about XP and how XP can let you get ahead and stay ahead with sleigh just because the rest of the lobby will be that much smaller for you to sleigh on. So that's basically what we're going to be looking at in this video, both of those two concepts kind of combined in this one with Share Bear, which is a really good unit for getting ahead. A really good hero, rather, because we're able to pick up the Frog Prince on turn 2, and then we're just stronger than the rest of this lobby for most of the game here. And when I see this Wish Upon a Star, the gears kind of start to turn, and I'm wondering, how can we make this Wish Upon a Star work? It might not be this turn, might not even be next turn, but I'd really like to try to spend 5 gold and get 2 XP at some point during this game. So that's what we're going to wind up doing. Maybe we'll cast it next turn unless some other things roll into the shop that could continue to make us stronger. We will have 7 gold next turn, so that is enough to purchase Mad Mim plus the Wish Upon a Star. We are going to be good enough to win this combat here, but of course we are just going to get stronger as the turn goes on, and our opponents are going to get stronger too. We're playing up against an undefeated Cursed King. They're at 38 health, which means they cast a Forbidden Fruit even. So this is definitely one player that could rival us. I don't think I want to cast the Wish Upon a Star this turn. What I am eyeing up is the Princess Peep plus the Mad Mim and the Water Wraith, and I will sell the Goat that we picked up on turn 1 to be able to afford all 3 of those units, and hopefully that can make us strong enough to win. It does look like my opponent is going to have some pretty strong stuff here, though, for themselves, and we almost walked away with a tie, but unfortunately we're only going to walk away with some additional bonus gold there as we break open the prized pig. And now the question we have to ask is, do we want to cast this Wish Upon a Star? And I think the answer is yes. And then what I think we want to do is roll and try to pick up a 4-cost unit. And I like the Godmother, but I specifically like the Godmother with this Trojan Donkey, because then I actually have something that I'm putting those Godmother stats onto. So this is on 2x speed, by the way, so it wasn't that close to getting the Cinderella in. But basically, the Princess Peep plus Godmother is just a really good synergistic pair. And that's going to allow this donkey to kind of carry us here, and we get the bonus XP from the Wish Upon a Star. So that's great. I'm going to the end my Cinderella, and now we are level 5. We get to pick up a tier 2 treasure, and then we'll potentially roll for a tier 5 unit. I'm going to take Crown of Atlas and immediately get rewarded with a baby bear, which is a really great pickup here. Again, there is some awkwardness with Mad Mim and Water Wraith, because you can't support the units on both sides of Water Wraith at the same time. So just going to wind up supporting the baby bear here, and then we're going to have a huge health donkey. Well, actually not that huge, as my opponent snipes it with their baby dragon, but I still think that we are in a pretty good position here, and we will be able to walk away with a win. So not bad, 3 XP up on the rest of the lobby, and still at 38 health. So quite good, all things considered there. We did lose a combat, but we gained some health back with the end. And now that we are level 5, this is something that I talked about in my patch notes a little bit, but power leveling right now to level 5 is pretty good, because there's just really strong units on tier 5. The fact that you can just power level to tier 5 and then pick up a Robin Hood is, I think, a huge boon right now that makes XP definitely really strong. And I wind up ordering my units so that the Sporko is going to get the Robin Wood bonus. I could have also made it so that the Sporko was pumping the Mama Bear, and that way the Princess Peep would get the Robin Wood bonus, but I thought it was just better to put the bonus on that ranged unit in the back, and that is going to be enough to allow us to keep winning. I do like the idea of Lancelot plus this Godmother, but then I also see a Baba Yaga in this shop, and that is also going to be something that I want to consider. And especially while we're up against the ghost here, I don't even know if this is like an active ghost or not, something that we really have to worry about, but I think it is probably just best to get the one slay in against the ghost and just work with that. And now Robin Wood is still going to be pumping Sporko. By the way, if you don't know, let me pause on a cleaner screenshot here. So if Robin Wood sees a tie, it will, and this is the same for Helm of the Ugly Gosling as well, then Robin Wood will default to the lower cost unit. So Baba Yaga and Sporko both had 3 attack, but Sporko is a 4 cost unit and Baba is a 5 cost unit, so Sporko is going to be what gets pumped there. Just if you didn't already know that already. So we are looking pretty strong here. We've got some nicely big baby bears, and we're going to wind up crushing this ghost pretty easily. So would potentially like some ways to get a few more stats on Lancelot, and Grandmother is a good enough way to do it. That'll put Lance to 22, which actually means that Sporko can flip it over, so that's really good. And then I'm putting Sporko first, because again, Sporko is going to be what receives the Robin Wood bonus. We'll have to cut the Princess Peep, or the Princess Peep is going to be what receives the Robin Wood bonus, so that is also what I'm considering, though it's also kind of good to just get the Princess Peep in there, because it makes a bunch of 6/6s. So I could see going either way with this one, and I wind up putting the Princess Peep back in at the end of the day. But Lance is going to activate. Baby Bear is going to be strong enough that it survives even. But my opponent has a really big board. They've got a bunch of monsters here, and this is definitely looking a little bit close, but we just have a bunch of huge ranged units in the back, and that's actually enough to take it out. We get the tier 5 treasure, so I'm going to go for Staff of the Old Toad, and now we're 2 XP up on the rest of the lobby with Staff of the Old Toad and an active Lancelot. I think we're doing pretty good, and I think this is definitely a means to just slay the course here and stay the course with Slay. I could have seen going into trees. I'm not sure if that was better or worse for me, but ultimately just decide to stick it out with this path and then pick up another Jormungand here to just continue to be strong. And then I'm just playing a Water Wraith as a 20/20 in the front line. Maybe Baby Bear would be better in that case as well, but hey, prevented Lancelot from slaying there, so not too shabby, and that is going to mean that we get a win up against May as well, and that will be enough to give them a tier 6 treasure because we knocked them down to 14 health. I'll pick up a Riverwash Mermaid at this point and try to support my Slay units with that. And then I also do kind of like this Hercules, if there's a way that we could put that in. It is probably better than the Water Wraith. It does cost us 6, but I think that it is potentially worth picking up because of just how ahead of the rest of the lobby we are. Now, there is an interesting thing here, something I haven't done in a while, but I could have tried to make a Doom Breath work, and Doom Breath with Riverwash Mermaid can be an interesting kind of combination of things, but looks like we're going to be okay in this combat. Lancelot gets to slay, and then the Jormungands get to be super huge. So as long as the Lance gets to slay, we are going to be doing all right in these combats, and you can see the rest of the lobby about to fall by the wayside now. We're in the top 4, but it seems like it's already the top 2 with myself and this Pan Shadow. I will triple the Jormungand and take a Phoenix Feather from that. and that's gonna really help just in terms of if something goes wrong, like Lance or Jorm gets attacked into early. That is pretty reasonable, but awkwardly, we're just playing these Riverwash mermaids, and they're not actually doing anything for us, so it's a little bit awkward here. And then Robin Wood is getting buffed up by the, or is buffing up the Baba Yaga. Awkwardly too, we are, both of our Lance and our Jormungand were the exact same stats there, so that was just kind of funny. But now the Lance is going to wind up starting a little bit bigger than Jormungand, which means that if Jormungand gets attacked into, it will just die. So grabbing another Jormungand is actually really good for us here, just to have a nice little backup. And then Baba Yaga, I think, is also great to add to this. Like I said, the Riverwash mermaids aren't actually doing that much for us at this point, and I don't think it's crazy to even just sell off the bench to pick up this Merlin's Test against May, just to get a little bit more stats, potentially allow Lancelot to slay. But we did just play up against May, so I'm not feeling like we really need that many more stats here. I do think that we're probably going to slay again, just based off what they had a few turns ago. So is looking good enough. And then Hercules will be able to get 2 hits on him, so that will give us a tier 6 treasure. We can use that to replace the crown, and then Lance even gets another slay too. So doing really good. And now we are up in the top 2. We get to take a Mimic chest to go along with the Phoenix Feather. I mean, Wand of Weirding definitely worth considering, but I think this is definitely a Mimic chest place here. And then I'm going to pick up a Lightning Dragon. It seems like it's a little bit late for it at this point in the game, but we'll see what we can do. Maybe it was just a waste of cash, to be totally honest, but we'll see what we can do with it regardless. Yeah, definitely some other options, but if we can slay with Lightning Dragon still, that would be obviously really, really good. And we come a little bit short, but Lance still gets the slay. That's pretty important. And then Siren is going to steal 2 Lancelots from us. So that's pretty good for my opponent there as well. And we can see my opponent has a really interesting board going on, but my Phoenix Feather Mimic chest is going to be enough to get us there in the end. We'll pick up some Hermes Magic Beans, and then I'm going to pick up another Jormungand. We're going to go all in on this Jormungand plan. I'll pick up a 3rd Jormungand here, and then I'm even going to pick up an Echo Wood. Things did get a little bit dicey at the end of last combat, so I want to make sure that we are able to just have another big unit. We had to use our Mimic Chest Phoenix Feather to get us over the hump in the end there. And one more big unit definitely cannot hurt. But don't think I'm going to lock for another Echo Wood. I'm basically just going to run these ones, and now I'm looking for another Baba Yaga or another Jormungand. I do briefly play around with what if I played this board. This would just mean so that way my Lance has to slay, and then it would double slay with, or triple slay rather, with all of the Baba Yagas, both Baba Yagas supporting it, and that would make all of the Jormungands grow. But I think it's just better to play more Jormungands, and we get in with our Lancelot here, and it does not slay, and then my opponent's good boy actually slays against my Lancelot, and my Lancelot does not slay again. So if we take a look at what is going on here, is my opponent uses Siren to steal my Jormungand. My opponent has actually teched in a Green Knight, which is a really fabulous tech card from them. I was not expecting to see this, but my opponent has Horn, and they've got Evil Eye, so an upgraded Green Knight gives everything on my opponent's board plus 40 health. Everything in the front row, plus 40 health, which is really good when you consider just how close this combat was. When my first Lance attacks here, my opponent winds up having their unit survive with 15 health, so that would have slayed if the Green Knight was not around. And then both of these good boys wind up having an additional plus 40 health as well. So this good boy slays. That's obviously huge news for my opponent, but it means that when my Lancelot attacks again, well, this is only surviving again because of the Green Knight. So my opponent cancels both of my slays out, and then Siren comes in, steals my Jormungand, and then actually winds up growing the Jormungand because of just how that slay order works out. So really, really well played by my opponent there to put in the Green Knight, and hopefully we will be able to give it to them in the next combat. But it's tricky, and that's why I brought up, you know, the incremental gains and the ways that you can support your slay comps really do add up, because my opponent did some great work there. Now, we were 63% chance to win that combat if you take a look at the simulator, but what's awkward is my opponent was now growing their whole team because their good boys are slaying and they've got Riverwash Mermaid Baba Yaga, and everything is just getting out of hand. So maybe I should have taken the time to just throw in Medusa there, but because I don't have any Riverwash Mermaids anymore, Medusa isn't really slaying, and I'd have to find like a Riverwash Mermaid and a Medusa, and then a way to grow Medusa's attack a little bit just to have Medusa even slay. So, and even that wouldn't work because my opponent has Green Knight and Medusa would never get to slay. So never mind that. I'm going to wind up selling down here and picking up Pigomorph, and just hoping that Lancelot can find one of these few targets that it can slay against, and maybe Pigomorph can be a big enough disruption as well. It's only a single cast Pigomorph because we didn't pick up the Wand of Weirding earlier, and maybe that was a mistake as well. That would have been good support, but we are going to wind up Pigomorphing my opponent's biggest unit. We take out their Water Wraith, and that's pretty good for us, but my opponent is going to get in with this 2351 because of the Green Knight good boy, and this good boy isn't going to slay, so that is really good for us, but, well, it's probably not going to die either, so I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll be okay off of this one. But here's the awkward part. My Lance does not find the slay that it needs either. Lance was 50-50 there to slay, which would have been a really, really huge boon for us. But instead, Lance doesn't slay and just makes this combat very, very awkward for us. So then Siren's going to come in, just kill a Jormungand, grow the Siren a little bit, and now my Jormungand just trades into Siren. Good boy trades into Lancelot, which is actually on the surface okay for us because now Lance is going to spawn in spot 2 thanks to the Phoenix Feather Mimic Chest, and this will give Lance an additional chance to slay. But my opponent just had a 200 health good boy die. This good boy was originally or 100 health is what I mean to say, but it's going to give all of my opponent's other good units 200 health. So that is a bunch of stats across the board. Everything is going to get just way too big for us. So my only hope here is to slay against this Pigomorph, and then hope that we can do some other nice stuff, and that's not going to happen, so we're going to lose this combat as well, slowly but surely, as my opponent is going to be able to take down all of my other units here. And yeah, we are now at 5 health, and we've got to find a way to get powerful. I'm going to take another Pigomorph, because that does give us the chance to win. Then I'm going to roll for Baba Yaga or Jormungand, and we find the Jormungand. And not only that, this Jormungand is going to give us the Singing Sword. Now, Singing Sword has been extremely nerfed recently to only give plus 15 attack, rather than doubling the attack. So with Mimic Chest, it used to triple, and now it's just giving us plus 60, so less than double. But hopefully this Lance is still going to be big enough. We see it can slay against the Water Wraith. I think it should be able to slay against like the Siren and the Good Boy still, but it's going to be close. So this is definitely turning into a really close end game fight here, and hopefully we will just have enough stats to get us there. And I'm playing Lance in position 2 just to fully maximize my chance to get the first sleigh. I figure if I get the first sleigh, the second and third ones should come a little bit easier, but we'll see. And what are my options here to attack into? We do Pigomorph the Siren again, and we attack into Good Boy. And it's not the best thing in the world. It's not the worst thing. I would rather attack into the Siren, most likely. You don't really want to attack into like the upgraded Good Boy either, but this is fine. And then we see that my opponent has done a nice other little trick here, and they have replaced their backline Good Boy, or I'm sorry, their backline Riverwash Mermaid with another Good Boy. That's a really, really good move because this is the last combat of the game. My opponent isn't playing Jormungand, so they don't really need the scaling from Riverwash Mermaid. They just want to play another Good Boy and get as much stats as possible. So really, I wanted to post this game to say kudos to my opponent to throw all of this cool teching stuff in the end. But luckily, we do get the sleigh here with the Singing Sword out of Lancelot. So that is going to give us some pretty big Jormungands. That's enough to survive there. And then Jormungand will get a sleigh onto Good Boy. So things are looking pretty good for us here. But then my opponent's Good Boy dies. And I'm realizing, wait a minute, my opponent's units are just massive here, thanks to their dead Good Boys. So the one saving grace that we have is Echo Wood plus Phoenix Feather plus Mimic Chest, but that's not going to be enough. My opponent has a ranged unit bigger than our biggest unit, so they are going to walk away with a win on this one. And I still thought it was a really cool game to show, mostly because I've never seen the Green Knight used so effectively as a tech card, and it was just a really cool finals with a lot of back and forth between myself and my opponent, but they were able to get the scaling and they were able to outscale us and out-tech us in some really cool ways. So that is going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.